hypnosis podcast in the world, as voted by me and my two co-hosts. That's right. We agreed. We all agreed. Actually, one of them is saying they didn't agree. Anyway, we are here with the Hypnosis Hero. What do we call it? Oh, podcast. And each week, if you're a regular listener, which I hope you are, if you're not, hit that subscribe button. Each week, we bring on a guest hypnotist and we ask them about themselves, and then we invite them to do a hypnosis session right here, live on air. So you will get hypnotized on the screen, which I think is awesome. We need to get the word out about this powerful modality. Tonight, we have an even extra special hypnotist on because this hypnotist is a spiritual medium. That's right. So she's going to lead us on a process where if you want to, you can communicate with folks on the other side, the dearly departed, the dead, whatever. I will not be participating in that because ghosts scare the crap out of me. But maybe our guest can help me through that. Her name is Melissa Dodd. She's a really swell person, wonderful person, gifted, despite her poor taste in pineapple pizza and footwear. All right. We've got a bunch of people listening right now. Let us know where you're listening from, where you're watching from. I do want to remind everyone, this is a show with hypnosis. When the hypnosis starts, I highly encourage you to sit down or lay down and don't try to drive or do any kind of operating any kind of heavy machinery because you may zone out completely, which could be bad. And with that, I'm going to bring on my co-host, my friend. Give it up, everybody, for Mr. Brian Bay. Brian Bay, how are you today?
I am well rested. I slept most of the day, was just kind of on and off. Just definitely a busy week coming from the weekend as well. But how have you been?
You know, I've been okay. People asked me how my Labor Day was, and I was like, "Oh, that's right, it was a vacation."
Mine was laboring.
Yeah,
we got our catering company at the Shrine got hired to do a wedding offsite, and people were just coming from all over the world, Australia, New Zealand, I think Turkey. Met a lovely couple from London, and they were like, "You've been amazing. We want you to bartend our wedding in March." And I was like, "All right, here's contact info." So it's in somebody's phone.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know what the legalities and everything are out there, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I will tell you too, as I've had a meal that the chef there at the Shrine, Navi, has prepared, and it was absolutely amazing. And I was absolutely blown away by it. And I wish I would have taken seconds, but I was trying to be polite.
Oh no, dive in.
I will now. Even though you invited me to, I was still trying to tough to overcome those childhood traumas where the parents, be polite, don't eat more. It was so good. It was so good, and it's super exciting news too. It's not official yet, but Brian is helping the local chapter of the National Guild of Hypnotists to get something set up. We may be celebrating World Hypnotism Day right there at the Shriners, and they've got a really beautiful space there. We're hoping to do a really big thing for National Hypnotism Day, and I hope all the other hypnotists out there are planning something as well. So thank you for that, Brian.
We got a lovely venue, 97 acres of 18-hole golf course, lovely temple building, and plenty of event space options in there. So. We're definitely, it's right in the infancy stages right now, but I'm excited about where this is going to go.
Right on. So you're doing heavy labor on Labor Day.
Yeah. Ice has gravity to it, so I found out. And
then, well, thank you for your service.
Yeah. I was I bumped the laptop there, but. No, there were definitely people at that wedding who were absolutely flogging their livers. And
flogging their livers.
They're like, "God, it's hot out here. Do you have something?" I was like, "Look, I am in just distribution. I am not in operations." But those of you who work in any sort of manufacturing, especially Boeing, will get that reference.
All right, with that, flogging the liver, let's bring on our other co-host, and show producer, actually, the tech guy, the man behind working all the magic there. Let's bring him on. Shawn Kostiuk. Hello, Shawn.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How's Shawn this week?
Gentlemen,
Shawn is good. He just finished his first week back at school with students are back in session now. So actually it's my third week because I start a little earlier than most of the rest of the teachers. But first week with the kiddos, and already had to give an award to a young lady in grade 1. If you ever want to feel really tall, just go into grade 1. Let's just say after I was done taking the picture, it took me about 30 seconds to get back up off the floor.
Oh, I was waiting for you to be like, all right, I've already had to this week. And I was like, put Bailey's in your coffee or?
No, we save that for, we do save that for special Fridays. So,
Oh, parent teacher conferences.
Right.
Yeah, that's there's a term that usually goes around. Most staff members will call it choir practice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I actually kind of yesterday was like the oddest day ever. So I'm in the bar at the golf course, and I go run to grab ice, come back, and I hear that all of a sudden there's this guy on the ground and he is bleeding profusely from the head.
Wow.
And the story that I heard was he came in, he hiked up from the 9th hole, on his way to 10, stop at the bar in between. They call it, being on the turn. And he's like winded, out of breath. It was obviously hot yesterday. And he's like, can I get a bottle of water? We're like, yeah, it's right over there in the fridge. New bartender, her first day, she walks by him to go. All of a sudden, according to the surveillance video footage, this guy's knees buckled and he just, and hits the corner of the bar right there, square on his head.
Yeah.
And then like right about that time, the Square that we use to process all of our credit cards, their server went down. I'm assuming like extreme weather. So no credit cards. There's a guy bleeding profusely with a head injury. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to just call it a week and go home.
Wow.
But he ended up being okay. They took a lot.
I learned that trick when I was learning how to walk. I was like, I don't know, maybe 18 months old. And when you meet me, look under my eyes, you'll see 2 very small scars, and they are from the corner of the coffee table. And learning how to walk.
Oh, so you're not a
I know all about that. I'm well practiced. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That's why I prefer the lower center of gravity.
Yeah.
Well, guys, tell me.
There's a 12-year-old penis joke in there.
I don't care how old your penis jokes are, Brian.
This is a family show. I'm sorry.
Hey guys, so tonight we have a medium on. What are you guys' thoughts about mediums?
Reminds me of clothes shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I go shopping, I can't find anything in my size. They keep telling me I take an extra medium.
Oh, hashtag dad jokes from Canada.
Yeah, dad jokes from Canada. So are we, have you guys ever experienced this before? Scared?
Did Becca like my joke?
Yeah. I don't have the heart to say that makes one of us.
I've experienced it before. Yes, we had, what was it now? It was something at university, and they had a medium in.
All right. Very cool. So let's give a shout out to someone. We've got Kendall Moon listening. Thank you so much, Kendall. Danielle and Antonson, thank you so much. Albert, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. He's watching. So Amanda is. We're seeing the Amanda bump right now. We're going to call this the Dodd bump, or the medium bump. I don't know what we'll call it. Nora, our friend Nora is watching. Of course, another person with questionable taste in many areas. All except husbands. Her husband is a prince, mostly,
Saint.
And a saint. Let's see who else we got watching. Hey, if you're watching, let us know. We want to know who's watching. If you're a hypnotist or other entrepreneur, you want to put your link down there. feel free to do it. This is the non-scarcity show. We're not worried about people getting clients off this show. Of course, I and Shawn and Brian, we want all the clients for ourselves. We really do. And for our guest. But hey, if you want to get somebody else, then please go with somebody else. Nora, that's right. We are frenemies. Hello, Katie, a friend of Brian's. Excellent. I think I might have met you, Katie. I don't know. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to send you guys away so that Amanda will be on top when she comes back in. Let's see here. I'll take me away. Coming up next. So this woman is an amazing person. Really, really one of my new best friends. I haven't known her that long, about a year, but she's just really fabulous. As I say, despite some of her poor and questionable tastes, she is a spiritual medium. She is a hypnotist, and she has a long list of credits, which I'm going to go ahead and let her share when she comes on, so I don't screw it up. Everyone, please, hold on. Big round of applause for hypnotist and medium, Miss Amanda Melissa Dodd. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, good evening.
They are going crazy. People, please.
All the people cheering for pineapple pizza. Look at that. Yeah.
What's that? Hold on. That's the fail button right there. That's,
I feel like you had that cued. You were waiting.
Amanda, I'm so excited to talk to you tonight. Really, what a wonderful person you are. I'm going to bring the other fellows back now so we can have a great big hypno party. How'd this happen? You're supposed to be up on top. Now these guys are on top. What the heck happened?
I am not in production.
Well, we're going to be on the bottom always for some reason. All right. So, Amanda, welcome to the show. I know it's a thrill and an honor for you to be here tonight. Am I right?
It is. It is. How can I complain? I'm surrounded by amazing people.
And other adjectives as well.
Other adjectives as well. Brian Potts, my good friend Brian. Brian's out there on the in that same time zone as you, so it's kind of late for him. Thanks for tuning in, Brian. You're gonna have to come back on every week, apparently, Amanda, because you're just boosting the show right there. Thank you so much for that. Amanda, can you give us a brief rundown of who Amanda Melissa Dodd is?
Oh God, it's a therapy. You might not want to open that Pandora's box. It's been interesting. You know, I identify now as having mediumship abilities. I still don't necessarily go out in the world and call myself a medium. It was not a title that I had wanted. It's actually one that I avoided for many, many years. And I think you'll find that a pretty common thing when people start realizing they've got abilities. They don't know what to do with them. They just know they're a little different.
Connie Joe, hello. Lena, hello. So can you tell us, so for the people that are watching that don't know what a medium is, can you let them know what that is?
Absolutely. So a medium is someone who is able to have connection with loved ones and spirits. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you see them every time. That would be a psychic medium or a clairvoyant medium. But there are people with mediumship abilities. And Jim, I know you said you were scared, but I suspect there are some abilities in there that you're maybe not quite aware of or owning just yet. We're going to get to the bottom of that. But you can also be a clairsentient person who just can have a feeling. And it's that, you know, walking into a room and sensing something or just having that knowing that comes through. For some people, it's more physical. So a medium can reach people's loved ones in spirit, and they can do it in 3 different ways. There's mental mediums, doesn't mean they're crazy. There's emotional mediums, and then there are physical mediums. And then it breaks down even more into different categories from there on.
Wow. And just let me know if you're watching. So by about, by about 8:15 p.m. Pacific time, that's 11 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be getting into the process. We're going to stick to a schedule this time. We're going to be right on it. So by about a quarter after, about 20 after, we're going to start the process where Amanda Melissa Dodd is going to take us to a process where you will have the opportunity, perhaps, to speak to someone on the other side. Who are you going to let us know who do you want to communicate with? Who do you want to chat with? Amanda, so you mentioned several different types of medium. Which kind are you?
Now, you don't always have to be exclusively just one. And the more you develop, the more many people find that they are more than one. So I would identify as actually being all three. I was aware of at first being more of a physical medium, which means you have more of those sensory type things that you can actually physically feel. And then the earlier, say mid-adulthood, probably more emotional. And now it's more psychic, it's more mental. So it's more pictures, sounds. I'll hear a song that someone loved. I'll know what kind of music they liked. I will get, just little snapshots, or sometimes it's full audio video.
Wow.
And I'll be able to describe it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how this? I mean, how did you just? I'm going to be rearranging the stuff here. By the way, everybody, I'm going to move things around hopefully to get Melissa up on top somehow. But please, anyone who's willing to come forward. Kendall says anyone who's willing to come forward, she's inviting when she does the process. That's cool.
So I guess how does it work? Like, you have to be physically present with somebody, or?
No. So that's kind of the amazing thing. You can do this, and the stronger a person's abilities are, the more cognizant they are of how their abilities work, the more accessible they'll be. There are some people who, when I say physical medium, that might be a lot of people who do psychometry, which means that they're having an item placed in their hand and then they're reading the energy off the item. I can do that, but it's not necessary. So someone who's a mental or emotional medium can do this anywhere through space or time, no difference than like hypnosis over Zoom.
Wow. Interesting.
And times just in Facebook Messenger where I will get imprints of things. But I'm at a point now where I like to refer to myself as more of a conscious medium. And I used to say that I was an unconscious medium, and that, like many, I didn't have control over my abilities. I didn't get to choose when or how often or what I was receiving. And you can imagine in elementary school, that was a lot. Wow. I actually got diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, and I don't know that was accurate. Because if you're sitting in class, you've got a world of sensory coming in that other people aren't experiencing. That would look different, wouldn't it?
I mean, your attention's going to be diverted.
Sure was. Sure was, yeah.
Well, if you've had a conversation with me for longer than 5 minutes, I'm on that spectrum.
So Becca Rose has a really good question here, Amanda. Becca asks, how do you know the spirits you are talking to are not just things in your head or things in your mind?
Right. So
that's simple. The voices that are inside of your head and the squirrels that are inside mine go, hey, it's the spirits over there.
Yeah.
So with every single ability that there is, and there are multiple, we can talk about them.
Yeah.
Each one can happen in two ways. It can be subjective or it can be objective. So when someone tells you they're clairaudient, that means they can hear clearly. They hear spirit. And if it's subjective, it's going to sound more like thoughts. It could come through in your own voice. And so it is a little hard to distinguish. But the way that you'll start to know is, why would I think that? That's such a strange, that's not me. That's not mine. And that's one of the first questions that I teach my empaths and my mediums as they're learning, is to ask, is it mine? And if it's not yours, do you need to hold on to it? What do you need to do with it? Now, if we're talking about someone who's clairaudient and objective, they'll actually hear it. So in childhood, a lot of people talk about hearing their name throughout their house. Go looking for it. No one's calling them.
Whoa.
Yeah? Flashback? Do you remember that?
It would scare the crap out of me, though. Yeah.
So if I heard you correctly, if you actually like hear somebody like auditorially speaking to you, you've got a power. But then if it's the polar opposite, where like you can't hear that stuff, is that like the Latin? Is that like the Latin word for husband? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, I think my spouse could identify with that, possibly.
But
How can
Well, I
we?
mean, this is interesting. I just kind of throw in some little humorous bits in there, but no, please go on.
Yeah, so there are lots of senses. I think, when you look at the Hollywood version of, medium, then they're seeing all these graphic things and they're all shown as being clairvoyant. That's not necessarily true. There are some really great mediums who are just clear cognizance, which means they've got a stream of information coming in. But if you ask them, how do you know? They don't know how they know, but it's a gut feeling and they just know. And then they begin to trust it because it gets validated over time. And so, coming back to that question, it's practice and it's validation over time. Now, here's another aspect, not just the mediumship part, but here's where I tend to blend it with hypnosis. What I know now is, having been a medium first, is that when we take a client into theta, we're going to the same place in the brain. So we call it, having visual imagery when a client's in hypnosis. A medium will call it being clairvoyant.
Wow.
The terminologies are talking about the same things. There were some really fascinating tests done with mediums and doctors. I don't know if you know the Long Island medium, Teresa Caputo.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah.
She did some testing with Dr. Amen, where they did an EEG. And so they were looking at the brain waves and the activity of when she's doing the mediumship reading, what's happening. And you can see various points where she's dropping down into those theta states. But then, because she's reading for what we call a sitter, she has to come back up to those higher brainwave states to then interpret what she's seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing to her sitter. So it's that ability to go up, in, and out over and over again.
Is that like Edgar Cayce type thing, where you say that there's a sitter, there's somebody kind of deciphering what they're saying or something? What?
No. So the sitter is the person that you'd be reading for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay, I got all mixed up. So before we go on, we got a few. Oh, did you complete your thought? I'm sorry.
So there are also more. There's also Tyler Henry, which is the Hollywood medium. I happen to like his style. He also did some testing with Dr. Drew Pinsky, and they also found the same, that on the brain scans, they're going into theta and occasionally hitting into that gamma range. And so what that tells me, and this is going to weave nicely into Nora's question of how do you handle skeptics, it's that now we know that when a medium is doing a reading, they're accessing those deeper brainwave states. If someone was going to be making it up, that wouldn't be happening in theta, and that wouldn't be happening in the gamma state. So I find that particularly exciting.
And both of those are, they're celebrity physicians, but they're also very well respected. Dr. Drupinski from, I mostly know him from Loveline, but he's done other stuff as well. And then, of course, Dr. Amen with all the NPR specials. Important question. Do you know Jennifer Love Hewitt, and can I get a phone number? That's.
I'm so sorry to be a disappointment. No.
Damn it. Well, if she dies or I die, then maybe we can make that happen. Don't tell my wife. So let's go back here. One of the questions. So does intuition, Lena wants to know, does intuition play a part in it?
It can. I would say that intuition is kind of the beginning steps. When you're in tune with your intuition, then you can expand on it. And intuition can come in through different ways as well. That can be something that you're seeing, hearing, feeling. More often than not, intuition is kind of like the prelude to mediumship for me. It's learning to trust what your senses and extrasensory are, and then choosing what you'd like to do with them.
I can't help wondering, excuse me, but how do we know that that these voices, these things you're hearing in your head is not a mental illness? Because there is
Fair.
that is something from the DSM, that could be diagnosable. So how do we know that? Or do we know?
It's a very fair question. And I think the main difference is you're going to notice big changes in the behavior of the person. So a person who's a medium is still going to be emotionally regulated. The voices of spirit always come through very high vibrational. They're very supportive. They're loving. They're kind. Even if the person who passed was maybe a bit of jerk in their life, what happens is after they transition, they tend to go through some things that change that, and they get that bigger perspective and do things like a life review. Some of the stuff we look at in like transpersonal hypnosis.
Wow. Sorry, you just gave me chills. I don't want to. This topic.
You're a clairsentient. I knew it.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Go away. Go away. Whoever's here.
Yeah. Confirmed. You're an empath.
You know what it is. You know what it is, Jim.
Yeah.
If you're cold, get your toque.
That's right. That'll block the rays too.
What I would not give right now to have like a fake spider on a little fishing line just coming right down.
Yeah.
That would send Jim in a low Earth orbit.
Yeah, but when you reference those chills, for some people, that's their clear knowing, and those chills are a form of validation that they get from their body. It's that deeper intuition that's speaking to you. So I would pay attention to when those chills happen. It's your body's a natural lie detector.
Natural lie. I got to tell you, I was at an NLP training one time, and this shaman woman was sitting next to me, and she was going, "Oh yeah," to talk about there's this spirit over there and that spirit over there, and she said, "I can teach you to see him," and I'm like, "No, don't do it. I don't want to see him." Okay, how about you guys? Do you guys want to see spirits? Do you want to have these kind of experiences? Brian, Shawn, what do you think?
Oh, we have drugs in Seattle for that.
That's right.
Apparently, they're decriminalized.
Shawn?
Well, in Canada and in Saskatchewan, most of them are decriminalized. So, for me, I tend to stay on the skeptic side just a little bit. However, I have had experiences growing up where there's no logical explanation. Mr. Spock would not be able to interpret.
Here's the thing. It's so natural and mundane that most of us overlook it. And that's why I can train so many people to open up and work with their mediumship abilities. And when you think about the same as hypnosis, when you're taking someone into theta and then you ask them to describe a memory, that's what it's going to feel like when you see your loved one in spirit. Wow. And then you can actually, it's like being in a memory with them, but new things can happen, new conversations, new moments for catharsis, saying the things that needed to be said that you didn't have a chance to. It's not scary at all. It's mundane, it's boring. You do it naturally, just like trance, probably more times than you're aware of.
Well, and that I think it lends itself to just daily trance cycles, every time we live in our own trance. So, for us, it's mundane. Somebody else looking at us might think, what the heck's going on with you?
Hey, do us a favor. If you're watching right now, if you're listening right now, please take a moment, subscribe, and also please share this. I know you're busy, you're listening, but take a minute, just share this really quick to your social media page, to a friend, something like that. Let's get the numbers up here. We want to share the experience with everyone.
Well, Katie had a question.
Yeah.
She was asking if do you ever feel the other side, or I'm interpreting, do you ever feel the person's energy that's on the other side?
Yes. So before knowing about hypnosis and coaching and all of that, I was actually a practicing medium. It took me a minute to get there. I had a lot of resistance. Initially, that was not the life that I'd wanted for myself. I knew that I was different. What I really wanted was to just fit in, which as a hypnotist, that's one of the ways you can help your clients. You can help them overcome that shame, that guilt, that discomfort, that fear of standing out and being different. So at one point, I actually got a little popular, and it scared me a bit because it wasn't the life that I'd wanted. Yeah. And so I would do a service called Letter from a Loved One. Most of my clients would find me virtually. I wouldn't know anything about them. They would send me an email, and I would ask for only a couple of pieces of information. I wanted to know the name of the loved one and the relationship and what questions they had for them. And they had to be questions that were more than just yes or no. It was a lot of pressure. It's very raw. I didn't work with a hypnotist back then, and knowing what I know now, that's why I do this, is because there's a lot of self-doubt that can come in when you're accessing these deeper states. And when you don't have a client sitting in front of you, you can't ask the questions. So what I would do is meditate, go in and get impressions of the person. And it's almost like an interview where I'm then having their loved one and I'm asking them, what was your life like? How did you live? Who were you? What did you love? What was important to you? Give me a memory that only your loved one is going to know, something special. And they would essentially come through, and sometimes I would have like an overwhelming sense of who they were as a person, the parts of themselves they liked, the parts of themselves they didn't, the things they were sorry for and had wanted to change.
Wow.
Even their humor. And humor can still come through.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow. So what was it like? So you're a little kid and you're different. There's something going on. So what happened? How did you finally come to the light? How did you come and finally start practicing? What was that journey like for you?
It took a long time. I was super, super resistant. So I would say that I was a natural born medium, which means that I had the abilities open, up, and running. I like to compare this to hardware and software. Because we have a brain, we all go into trance, we all have hardware. Running mediumship is like running software. Mine was open and already booted up when I was a little girl. And so I have memories from 2 and 3 years old of having experiences that I didn't understand and couldn't explain. Sometimes being in a room, it was like a family reunion, and I'm like just observing the adults and thinking, how come there's this one adult over there and no one is interacting with them?
Oh, wow.
And I'm the only one seeing them. And so you're just, you're quiet and it's observing. And you're like, if everybody else in the tribe is ignoring this person, if I don't do the same thing, I might get kicked out of the tribe. I might not fit in.
Whoa, it's like
and I need these people to love and feed me and take care of me.
Yeah.
So you learn to box that part.
I was just thinking, it's like having an imaginary friend when you're a kid. Maybe people,
that's just it. Many imaginary friends. So here's the other thing about spirit. The same way that we have hardware and software to run, so do your loved ones on the other side. A gift that they have is that they can change the way they present. I can see someone's person who's crossed over. They might not show me what they look like at their passing. They might show me how they looked and felt at the peak of their life, when they had like the best memories, that had the most happiness, when they felt the most proud.
Full head of hair.
Right. Yeah. Well, sometimes I'm envious when we go to conferences and you just get to stroll out. And I don't have that option. Yeah. So when you think about little kids, a loved one in spirit, or even if we're talking about higher realms like angels, which I work with as well, they don't show up with a halo and wings and a garment. They show up in a way that's going to be comfortable and received easily. There was a memory that I reference a lot as a little kid. I used to go skiing with my family. I'm also Canadian, Shawn. I know you didn't know that when you were doing your digging.
I did.
You did.
I know which city you're in. Parlez-vous en français?
He's a good investigator. That's a little scary. So we would actually go skiing. And my mom would always laugh at me and say, oh, watch out for Amanda. She's going to race. She's got to be first. And I wasn't a competitive person. I didn't have a competitive bone in my body. I was about 7 or 8 years old. That's usually the time that a medium will start to shut their abilities down. They'll either disclose it to someone they trust, and if they can't trust anyone, they'll pipe way down. I piped way down. Others will turn it completely off just to protect themselves. The thing was, I wanted to be first because I would go so deeply into trance that I could feel my loved ones around me skiing down the hill, and I was actually racing with them, not with the muggles in the back.
Wow. Yeah.
But I was aware of sometimes speaking out loud because as a kid, I didn't have that control. And I didn't want them to know because I knew it would be off, not normal.
So,
Yeah.
This may be skipping ahead, and if we need to come back to this later on, we can. But like, if I just gave you like rattled off a couple names, would you be able to be like, okay, this is who they are, this is how they pass?
It took me a second to drop myself into trance, but yeah.
Okay.
One of the things I like to teach my students, and what's really important, is I'm an evidential medium, which means that you're not going to be feeding me any information. There's no feeding the medium here. Instead, what you want when you go to a medium is someone who is going to just share what they have, like being the telephone. And the reason that mediums are sometimes wrong is because, one, they've got their own human filters and programs that run. And the way that we perceive things can be different. A red rose for someone could be deep love. Depending on their life experiences, it might have a different meaning for somebody else.
Okay.
Right.
So what information would you
love, or
what information would you need in order to get a reading? I guess I'm kind of
right. You don't actually have to have any information whatsoever. And what I find works best, and even when we do the meditation later, if you can go in with no expectations, not having, I know sometimes it's hard because you've loved and lost someone and you want them, to be near. Sometimes the same way that we have to run that hardware and software, so does spirit. And so a loved one who has low energy might need another family member to kind of piggyback off of. And so we don't want to have expectations because that can be a block. As can
I guess I wanted to make sure that I was understanding the process. Like if I said, hey, here's this person's name, would you need their relation to me or how they're associated? Or would you be able to just go, okay, here I can tell you XYZ? Because if you can do that, I'm not going to say that my brain won't short circuit and my head won't pop like a zit, but I'm not going to deny it either.
Right. Yeah, I'm a little less practiced at giving readings these days, but there was definitely a point where I could, and I definitely did not need any information whatsoever. And when I do the psychic fairs that I do locally, I still don't need any information. In fact, I would prefer not to. Because it can cloud my judgment, it can get in my way, and then when that self-doubt creeps in, you start to question. It's like, oh, did they tell me this, or is it coming directly from source? And I can say, oh, I saw, I felt, I heard, I know. And it's much clearer for someone to not be hindered in that way. So it's actually better to not have any information whatsoever. And then I educate my sitter to say, yes, I can register that. No, that doesn't fit, or 50-50 or a portion. So that's really all I want to hear and nothing else.
So we do have another question here from Becca. It's kind of an interesting reading, and it's kind of on the how do you handle the skeptics thing. She was saying that she saw a card reading once, I'm assuming tarot cards, and someone asked a question and the reader came back with a complete answer, and then the person said that they made the question up. And she was asking, like, how did the psychic manage to give any reading when the question was made up?
The funny thing is when you tell someone to imagine something, the subconscious has a way of just kind of navigating in them to truth. Have you ever noticed that even with your clients as a hypnotist, where when you get that resistant client that comes in, they don't want to tell you exactly what's wrong. And so you tell them to tell me a story. And lo and behold, their subconscious is going to choose those exact things that they need to work on. It's the same. So I would say a medium is someone who's definitely linking with the subconscious mind. They're able to get symbols and bring them back. And even if you're misrepresenting a question or you're trying to test somebody's ability, they're reading so much more than just your words. They're reading your energy. They're reading your sensations in your body. They're able to hear things. And if their information is in fact coming from a loved one in spirit, that loved one is going to have that bigger perspective and know things and share those details.
Okay.
Is Lena asks, is this related to Indigo Crystal Kids?
Sure, because some of those children are coming in with their software fully on, open, and booted up. And then the thing with those children is if they don't have a mentor or a guide, they're going to need extra help. They're going to need extra support and understanding. Now, some of those kids have sensory issues. You know, they don't like certain kinds of material on their skin. They don't do well with loud sounds or bright lights. They're extra sensitive. They've got their abilities turned all the way up on the dial.
Wow.
You guys look traumatized.
No, I'm sitting there going, you're talking about like hardware, software, and small children turned on and this, that, and the other. And I know Shawn's kind of, like an IT kind of techie guy. And I'm like, so those
I understand
videos,
what she's saying.
No, I'm like, and this is like probably completely inappropriate, but it's like so I'm giving you advance warning, which is not fair to me. Like those videos of like people taking laptop computers and fax machines and like slamming them down. Is that like the tech equivalent of shaken baby syndrome or?
Yeah, I would say so.
That's where my mind wandered. So ADD at its finest, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So I want to remind everyone in about 5 or 10 minutes, Amanda's actually going to do a hypnosis session for those of you that want to explore the other side. So as Amanda said, she's touched on that she does readings, but she doesn't do very many anymore because she's moved on to now your primary focus is on.
My excitement is helping other people, helping mediums who are ready to, who want to develop their ability, or people who are just tired of being an unconscious medium, someone who feels like they're that empath who's getting overwhelmed. They can't go into public places because they're being bombarded with insight and information. They don't want it. So part of running the software is learning when to say, okay, stop. This is not a time to run. Now, for most of us, think about this. Every time you prepare to go to bed, you know that you're going to head into theta. That's where mediumship happens. How many people have their experiences at night or first thing in the morning when you're getting those keen insights that come in? Now, for someone who's sensitive and is aware of their abilities, they're getting messages from loved ones at those times. Is that ideal? No, because for people like Jim, it's a little scary. It's unsettling. For other people, you want to get to sleep. You don't want to be up all night hearing about so-and-so's drama. You're just like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, talk to me tomorrow. I'll make time for you at 3.
On behalf of men everywhere, those were your words, not ours.
Yeah, well, see, I love men. I truly do, and I think I understand them well. And maybe it's that mediumship side of, having someone who's always talking in your ear and just knowing when it's time to quiet it down. And then having a way to fine-tune that ability and say, okay, off, done. So now when people say, oh, can you give me a reading? It's like, yep, I've got that program off at the moment, but yeah, I can boot it on.
Yeah. Oh, I was trying to quiet the voices once, and I kept pointing the TV remote and hitting mute. And I had to sleep on the couch for a couple of days.
Amanda, I got one more.
Living.
I got one more question before you kind of tell people what to expect and everything. And this one's pretty important to me, and I don't know if there's any. I was brought up very religious, and I revolted, but I'm finding my way back a little bit, but. One of the things we were in the kind of religious evangelical Christian denomination, and one of the things that I would say coming out of this is if I think it's my grandma, it could very well be a demon or Satan. So can you kind
That's
of
not great to say about Gam Gam?
I know exactly right. So how do I know it's really Gam Gam or Gramsy as I called her, and not some horned devil?
See, here's my big understanding, because I've had that experience personally. When Gam Gam comes through, she's not going to be giving you advice that is going to send you down a harrowing path. So, for one thing, the insights that come through are always going to be higher vibrational. There's going to be that element of unconditional love and support. There's look at my little empath. I see you.
Do it again. Grandma, not now.
Yeah.
We might have to wind back the video a little bit, but you know, on the slow motion instant replay, it'd be like where Jim's lights all of a sudden, you know, grew super big. And
Right.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is, I feel like this is truly God given because it's in your hardware, and we all have the hardware. You don't have to be a natural born medium. I can train just about anybody. And anyone who's got abilities, who wants to control them better, we can refine it. And it's because we all have the hardware. Your brain was beautifully designed as it is by something far greater than most of us know. I've had some interesting experiences, so I've got some bias there too. I've had a touch of, transcendence kind of come into my life when I was about 16. That's ultimately always kind of then made me biased. And so because of those experiences, I know who we are, where we come from, and where we go back to. And it's undeniable. So for someone to say that it's not God given, it's like, well, if God is real, they made this brain, they made this body, they made it so that we go into theta so that we can heal. The first 7 years of our lives were in theta most of the time, absorbing, recording, learning, developing software for hardware that's already in place. How can you argue that that's not God given?
That's really beautiful. And I love that healing, because there are conversations I would love to have with my grandma. I mean, that sounds really good. Okay, we got one more. This will be the last question before we go. Oh, Shawn, can you drop Amanda's info down there again for everybody? Reach out to her. I know we got a lot of fans of mediumship. If you want to train with this fabulous woman, reach out to her. If you want to get a reading, she might take you on as a client. Nora asks, I was just going to ask if you've ever encountered any negative or evil entities like those demons that Jim is afraid of.
Yes, I have. And it's not to scare you, but there are certain things. And so people who are working with their abilities will have certain encounters, particularly if they don't have a mentor, they don't have someone to guide them, to give them a set of protocols and practices to protect themselves. And so part of my work is also doing spirit releasement therapy. That's another element of my hypnosis, where sometimes...
Is that like an exorcist?
Yes. Yes. It's not frightening. I promise you it's not scary. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes we take on things that we aren't meant to, and it's usually from a place of love or caring or concern. So I don't know how much time we have, but I do have some interesting stories.
Ooh, let's save those for after, because we do want to get started. And I do want to let everybody know too, if you want to learn hypnosis, I'm starting in my Hypnosis 101 course online, starting in about 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks from now. Shawn's going to drop the link down for that. Please sign up. First 6 people get some great bonuses. You get to learn from this guy. And I'm teaching, speaking of spiritual hypnotism, I'm teaching Roy Hunter's curriculum. And he's like the dean of spiritual hypnosis. So maybe some of it will rub off on me, and I'll set aside my fears of the demons. And that's my biggest fear. I was always really afraid of Damien and all that stuff. But anyway, check out my Success Academy. I'd love to teach you. Amanda. So everybody get ready. This is the time. Let me put up the warning. This is the time we're going to be doing, and remind us. You guys remind me and remind Amanda. We want to hear these scary stories afterwards. Maybe that's when I go, grab a glass of water or something, so I don't have to hear the scary stories. I'm not as brave as I look, and so there we go. All right, so we're going to start the hypnosis part, or the mediumship part, maybe the combination thing. This is the time when you need to sit down, lie down. Don't be doing anything else. Amanda, please take it away.
So what I would do is invite you to try to come to a place of just openness and ready to experience. Hypnosis and trance can happen differently for everyone. Not everyone is going to have that full audio video experience, is the way that I like to explain it. But you do all have the hardware needed. So you don't have to be a medium to experience this. Typically, what I call this session is visiting a loved one in spirit. There are certain things that I've found over time, and that's why I've made some of the protocols that I have and the different types of sessions that I do. Now, some of those are, like we talked about, trying to just release expectation. Try to be just present. One thing I will say is, if you've ever noticed, the matter of how you breathe is so foundational. So if you're doing anything during this whole segment, what I would do is invite you to just breathe very deeply. And if you are someone who is working on your intuition, working on your mediumship abilities, something that can happen is when you do finally have that experience, there's that little bit of excitement that comes in, and it's almost a little bit of a shock. And what's the first thing that happens? The person goes, and right in that moment, what did they just do? They told their nervous system that they're not safe, that it's not okay. And then the body takes all of the resources and it reallocates them. So first and foremost, you need to breathe really deeply. So let's start with that. Nice deep inhale. As you're doing this, the belly button is moving away from the spine. Try to breathe up all the way through the rib cage. And we want a nice, long, tall body, as though you've got a cord at the top of the head, connecting you to the ceiling, pulling you up, making room for the breath. So when you do that, you begin to breathe all the way up into the collarbones even. And when you get to the top, it's a very long, slow, steady exhale. When we exhale low and slow, we're telling the nervous system, we're telling the body that you are safe, you're secure. It's time to heal, to rest, to digest. So allow yourself to do that a couple more times now. And as the mind begins to drift, allow there to be part of you that's still noticing that long, slow, deep breath. If you'd like to, you're welcome to bring your journey inward now. You can allow the eyes to relax. Allow softness to come to the face. All of the thoughts, the busy, the doing that have been happening in your day, let them go now. And a really beautiful thing begins to happen as you start to let go of the thoughts, the busy, the doing. It's almost as though there's a reciprocal energy that happens and the day begins to let go of you. Everything that you hear now, inside, outside, outside in, or inside out, helps you to have the right amount of focus for you in this inward journey now. In the next moment, I invite you to find that higher power that you know to be the highest, purest, most divine, and invite it to here and to now, to guide you on your journey, to give the sensation of peace, allow it to flow down from the heavens, from divine, from source. Some people like to imagine this as being a pure, bright, white light. For others, it's a golden healing energy. It has warmth, softness, and imagine pulling that down now towards the top of your head. On the next nice deep inhale, bring in that energy like a liquid flowing relaxation. Allow it to cascade over the forehead, releasing the lines from the face and beginning to relax the tiny muscles in the eyes. On the next deep exhale, let go even more. If you have things that are coming up in mind that you know you have to do, imagine writing them all down now on a great big list. You have an endless amount of parchment. You can write it out in any color, size that you like, each and everything that comes up. Allow that list to get longer and longer. And you know that as you come to writing each and every item down, as you get towards the end of that list, that it's going to begin to roll up and secure itself with a ribbon, and we're going to set it aside for now. And you come back to that inward experience. Feel that relaxation beginning to flow in as you claim this moment as your own. Soft, healing, high vibrational energy coming into the jaw, releasing any and all tension, density, stress. Let it go. Good. On the next inhale, bring in even more now. Let it flow in, down through the back of the neck, releasing all of the tiny tendons, nerves, letting them soften and melt. The shoulders flowing down to a natural, comfortable position, as though you've just taken all the weight of the world and let it melt away. It wasn't yours to hold. Eyes closed, come to that inward journey now. Allow that healing energy to flow through the rest of the body. On the next inhale, with your inward focus, imagine a really beautiful place, somewhere that brings you so much joy, some comfort, some peace. And feel what it feels like to be in that place. The sensations, the temperature. If you've taken a nice deep breath, what aroma do you smell? What is the scent in the air? And when you exhale, let go even more. Any and all tension, distraction. So you can breathe it out and away. As you call forward your guide, that higher vibrational being to support your journey, imagine now that you begin walking on a path together, feeling the ground beneath your feet. Notice the sounds that it makes as you take each and every step. As you breathe in, feel just the slightest bit of beautiful, warming sunshine on your face. Feeling that fulfillment, knowing all of your needs are met in this moment. here and now. And as you continue walking on this path together, you can see up ahead there are beautiful fruit trees and flowers and shrubs. You can see all manner of nature. You might hear some of the birds in the distance flying from tree to tree, giving happy little chirps and whistles. You can see butterflies going from flower to flower, noticing the rich, beautiful color. When you take in the nice next deep inhale, you can smell that fragrant aroma in the air. Let it wash over you. Let it flow through you. Bring a feeling of ease, presence, and peace. As you continue to walk on the path with your guide, you can see there's a hill up ahead. There's beautiful flowing grass that sways lightly in the breeze. And there's a big archway. This archway has large green leaves and branches around it. You can see the different kinds of flowers. And you know that something is going to shift and change as you move through this archway. And it's almost as though that you know that when you move through this archway, you're going to let go. Let go of the fears, the thoughts, the reasons that you couldn't. This archway has an amazing ability to take all of your can'ts and turn them into cans. And as you begin to walk through the archway, you can feel this energy with a slight tingle, a bit of a buzz flowing through the body, from the head all the way down throughout. You can feel a change taking place. Take a nice deep breath in, pull in that high vibrational energy, and let any of the blocks, the challenges, the lower, denser feelings, emotions begin to subside, to disperse, to simply evaporate now. On the exhale, you're going to step through the archway and have a nice deep breath out. Let go. Very good. And so doing this now, continue to walk through the archway, making your way to the other side where you can have all of your senses awakened, active, alive as you take this inward journey. Soon you come to a garden. You can see a wonderful gate, two beautiful angels on either side. They nod and they beckon you forward. Walking with your guide still, as you approach the garden, you can see people reuniting. Seniors, elders, children, pets, family members reaching and hugging and loving one another, having this wonderful reunion. There's so much joy, peace, and calm. The gate opens and you're welcomed inside. Step by step, you go further and further in. You can see up ahead there's a beautiful pond, a large willow tree. And not far from the willow there's a bench. Go ahead and take a seat on the bench. As you take in a nice deep breath, really feel what it feels like to be sitting there at the pond, watching all these happy reunions happening around you. You choose to call your loved ones in spirit forward now. Those loved ones who would like to come forward to support you in some manner, to bring you a positive message, or to simply share space with you, give you a great big hug. You can imagine angels descending down with loved ones in tow, helping to create the right space and connection for you now. And so as you're sitting on the bench, you can feel the bench beneath you. And it's almost as though you're aware of the energy around you. Take a nice deep breath. As you exhale and sigh, letting go even more, you become aware of a familiar feeling presence. As you turn to look, you can see a silhouette, a figure, someone that you know coming closer and closer. Invite them to come forward, to come closer, and to sit on the bench with you. Notice what you feel, what you see, hear, and know. If you'd like to, you can extend your hands out and imagine feeling their hands in yours. Notice the temperature, the texture, and how it feels. As you look your loved one in the eyes, begin to have a sense of how they feel about you. Let it flood through you. Ask them to show you, tell you, help you feel something about yourself that is important now. And whether they show you, tell you, or help you feel, any and all of these are okay. The first thing that you see, hear, feel, and know, allow it to simply be what it is. On the next deep breath in, looking at your loved ones, ask them to show you, tell you, help you see, hear, feel, know something special about what they're doing with their time now. Their favorite thing to do. Whether that's being present in your life or the life of others. If they have a special task on the other side, how are they spending their time? And allow that to play forward for you as though it's on a great big screen, like watching a movie in the park. If there are any things that need to be said between you at this time, any words of forgiveness, accountability, responsibility, allow them to be said now. You can imagine looking each other in the eyes, hearing these words echoing between you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. You receive them in. You feel them flow out. And allow this energetic change to happen between you, healing any wounds or hurts from the past, and connecting even more deeply with them now. Long, slow, deep breath in together. Exhale, connect even more deeply. Look at your loved one once more and ask them for a key piece of insight, something that would be beneficial to you as you're making your way through the world now. Something that they see, hear, or know be helpful for you. And allow yourself to receive it fully now. In a moment, you're going to give your loved one a great big hug, wrap your arms around them, take in all of that love, all of that connection that you need. Let it flow through you. You know that because you've done it once, you can visit with them again, anytime. For now, begin to thank them, to hug them. Ask them one more thing, to show you a sign, a symbol, or give you a feeling. How will you know when they are present again? Receive that now. This could be an image, a sound, a sensation, an emotion. The next time you see, hear, feel, or know that sign or that symbol, you'll be able to recognize that your loved one is present, and you'll know that you can take a deep breath in and connect and have a conversation. For now, send them with light, send them with love to return to the place where they need to be most. Taking a nice deep breath in, pull all of your energy back. Become aligned, balanced, centered. Begin to have a sense of your energy returning, feeling optimum, alive, vibrant, taking with you all of the messages, all of the feelings, the connection, the love, and because you've done it once, you know you can do it again. Allow some energy to flow into the hands, to the fingers, begin to wiggle, to come alive, to feel vibrant and well. And on the next deep breath, you're going to rejoin us here. Open your eyes, feeling wonderful, vibrant, bringing back with you any messages, vibration, any love, and what you've learned as you go forward with your life. Fully back now. 3, 2, 1. Feeling optimum, aligned, balanced, and centered. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you.
That was great. Thank you, Amanda. Hey, if you're watching, if you're listening, what was that experience like for you? Drop a comment for us. Even if you watch this later after the fact, drop us a comment. I'll make sure Amanda gets your message. Thank you, Amanda.
Mm-hmm. So that was a short one. Typically, I do this as a 90-minute or 2-hour session. But
Whoa.
So if you had some challenges, that's not surprising because it's a very quick, short segment. Usually there's more prep, there's more time. But you can definitely begin to practice this even with self-hypnosis. Mm-hmm.
So what would be the reason for having a 90-minute or a longer one?
Sometimes I've had clients who were just stuck. They couldn't move past a certain thing. They had really lost someone and they didn't get to say those final things. They wanted answers and understanding. You know, sometimes when people leave this earth, they do it in ways that are shocking, surprising, or hard or hurtful. And so it's nice to have a moment of catharsis, of connection. And it's nice to know that they're keeping up with the Joneses. They know what's happening with us. They're not necessarily peeking in. It's not voyeurism, but they do know things and they do tend to remind us of things, which is another part of that validation process that happens. You know, they can remind you of a birthday coming or an anniversary or something special. And it may not have been in your conscious mind that this thing is coming, but they know.
Wow. Nora says that you have a beautiful hypnotic cadence. Loved it. Connie Jo Holmes says, thank you. Danielle says, it was amazing. I was surrounded by mostly animals and friends that passed. It was wonderful to hug everyone and feel so much love. Wow, that's awesome. Fantastic. And remember, y'all, this is I'm here forever. If you're watching on Facebook, you might want to. It'll be easier to find over on YouTube. You don't have to scroll through as much. You can just go to YouTube to the Hypnosis Hero playlist. Brian Potts says, right at the end, I had my dog since passed away, licking my face. Wow.
Yeah.
Becca
And
says,
that's because they happen in the same place in the brain. So whether you're taking someone to trance or whether you're guiding them into their mediumship abilities, here's a whole new way for you to look at it as a hypnotist.
wow, amazing stuff. What kind of questions do you all have? Let's hear your experience, and then what do you what kind of questions?
If I ran a couple names by you, do you need to go into trance?
Yes, I'm probably. So I shared an image earlier in chat, and actually that was part of something I wanted to share. Is as I'm leading this, I do drop into trance. So now is a good time, but I would say one at a time.
One at a time.
And then just give me a minute to sit with it to let you know what I feel.
So if I
spit it out.
I said that Jacob Demand.
Okay. I see this as being a very young person. And when I say young, I want to say maybe early 20s. I see them as being tall, rather slim. Are you able to recognize some of that? Yes, no, partial.
Yes.
Okay. Whoa.
And this is a person who I feel, yes, what do you think I do? Sorry. So I see this as a person who's actually, I would say he had a great sense of humor. This is someone who enjoyed laughter. And when he laughed, you could actually hear like a real heartiness to their laugh. Like this was, like to hear this person laugh feels like so heartwarming. So that's something that I find really remarkable. But there's kind of like there's a softness and a naivety to the personality. And so when I feel that, I have to wonder if this is someone who is able to live a very full life, or was this cut short? Because they feel very like forever young to me. Are you able to recognize that?
Definitely cut short, sure.
Yeah. That's kind of the sensation that I have too. But this is someone who was an optimist, and I want to say happy-go-lucky is what I hear. And so it's possible that someone had described him that way before, as being happy-go-lucky. But there's, and I said naivety, but I almost regret that word because I feel like this is someone who purposefully and intentionally chose to see the good in people. He had a very beautiful heart.
That's probably a more accurate. I was walking down the road with you, and then I was like, I'll give it to her more of lack of a better term in the moment, and then you came back to it.
And that's part of the process. So like I said, we each have our own filters. And so what someone would see, and even like as a medium, your biggest job is to just bring through what you see, what you feel, what you hear, what you know, and try to say it just as is. It gets tricky when you're trying to define something.
Oh, of course.
But yeah. So do you have any questions for him? Is there anything you want to know?
I think, do you have any information, like do you get any feeling or reading about how he passed, where he was, anything like that?
I feel like there was a vehicle involved, but he wasn't in it.
Fuck. Dude, was that the... Oh.
Sorry.
All right, I'm gonna... Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so there was a vehicle involved, but he wasn't in it. And I almost want to say it feels like a hit and run to me. He didn't feel it. It was a surprise. It came very quickly. There was no pain.
Okay.
Now that I've traumatized you all.
No. Okay, so Staff Sergeant Jake Demand was my next door neighbor when I lived in base housing, and he was deployed overseas, and he was in a Humvee that got hit with I think an 85 millimeter mortar, and he was, I would say, probably late 20s. And
Yeah.
so that when you were like, he was in a vehicle and it was quick, he didn't feel a thing, I was like, okay. That
You see Jim is over there feeling it. Jim, you are clairsentient. I can smell it on you.
Oh my God, I got such chills on that. Oh my God,
So that's
wow.
why we do this work, though. And so as a hypnotist, you can empower more people to open up and touch these abilities. And it's so beautiful because now you know that you have that connection. You can have that catharsis. You can continue the relationship. You know, for some people who've had alienation from their families and they didn't get that closure, what a beautiful opportunity you get to bring. And so I've had clients who are frozen in time, just need this little bit. But for me, it's more powerful for them to have that firsthand experience. I would rather guide you through this because I could sit here and do this all day.
no, I was kind of like,
Ultimately,
I'm like, I could throw out a
Right.
couple of names and I would be like, all right, can you describe them?
Yeah.
You know, how they passed and everything like that.
Mhm.
Wow.
I would say Brian Comrie.
Okay. Well, hold on. So the reason that I love to do this way is because I equate it this way. Would you prefer that somebody explains to you what it feels like to eat and enjoy a strawberry? You know, if they're trying to tell you what the texture is like, the flavors like, the sensation, the mouthfeel, all of that, or would you rather have that experience and having never had it before?
Oh,
For me,
yeah.
I'd rather take the bite. And so that's why I do what I do. Because, yeah, I can sit here and describe it for you, but you could also have this for yourself and not have me in the way.
Wow.
Now, because I am a medium, sometimes I do pick up on people's sessions, and it allows me to guide them that much deeper.
No, I guess yeah, like I talked to you maybe a couple minutes and we were just sorting out like logistics. Okay, here's the flow of how we're going to do things. And this is kind of like completely unscripted, but
Yeah.
If you could get something for Brian Comrie, and this is kind of my way of like, okay, do it again. and then I will like not sleep for a week, but in an odd therapeutic way, like it's kind of like,
well, it's not
there is something to this,
and that's why I'm here. It is very therapeutic. Like that's the amazing thing about it.
and I tell people like, you know, religion is based off of some of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, give me a second to try to connect with Brian. I've got to send your other loved one back to where he needs to go.
Yeah.
Let me just do that. Okay. Interesting. So he does hang out. Your first guy, his name is missing me, but he's still present. There was a dog, and I see this dog as being like either a lab or a golden retriever. I don't know if this is yours or his. Your first person that you had me bring through. I was just sending him off, and he left me with that little bit of information. He is present with that dog. So I don't know if this is a dog of yours that's potentially passed, a dog that you have now, or a dog that they had. But that is, when I went to go send him back to where he needs to be, that was there. So that's just for you
knowing Jake kind of back from Kentucky, is if I recall where he's from, it wouldn't surprise me if that was like a dog from childhood or something like that. But I don't know anything one way or another.
As part of your comfort, just know that he's happy and he's got that. They've got that enjoyment. They've got that time together now.
No, that's
awesome.
Let me
try to connect with Brian now. I see Brian as being older. I see him as having darker features.
So darker features, hair. Yes. Older.
I see him being taller and a thicker build. I would say he's more of a medium build, but also darker in terms of, I don't feel like it's just his physical it's not just his physical being, it's also part of his expression. I don't want to say personality. Let me just zone in a little more. He feels a little brooding, like, and I don't know if this is. It could feel a little sullen sometimes, like this was someone who would get caught up in his thoughts and he could kind of dwell on it, is how it feels to me. Is that something you could recognize?
Finding
No
out
sentence?
apples, yes.
Yes, no, maybe. Right. Okay. So I feel like with this kind of personality, there was a propensity for depression, and that kind of rumination that could happen. And I feel like he wants you to know that if there were times when you tried to engage with him and he wasn't able to, that it wasn't you. He was in that rumination type energy that was happening. Can you understand that?
Every bit of it.
Oh, dude.
Just,
Jim, are you going to sleep tonight?
Wow.
So Brian was a good friend of mine that I met through, it was either Little League baseball or soccer. And then going up through that, we met probably 5-6 years old, and we played high school hockey together. And then it was, it was a handful of years after graduation. He was like one of the funniest guys, and he wasn't like the tallest kid, but you were spot on with Jake. He was like tall, lanky guy, kind of like myself. But Brian
Jake came through super easy, and he brought that personality, that vibrance with him. Brian was a little more standoffish, and that may be because that might have been how he conveyed himself as a person. And so sometimes when they come through, it can be hard to discern, like, are you doing this because this is who you were as a person, or are you just further away in terms of energy and I need to pull you in closer?
Now, Brian was like the funniest guys in the room, and was just incredibly talented and creative. And unfortunately, I never knew this growing up. And it was like after, I think 2000, sometime between 2007, 2008, I was living back in California, and I had reached out to him. I was working, I was, going through just some struggles of, in life, kind of what you do in your mid-20s. And, I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, like, kind of miss hanging out with you, and like, let's go grab a beer and, grab something to eat. And so we made plans, and he was like, he was trying to break into the acting industry. And it wasn't, I moved back up to Washington State, and I got a phone call that he had taken his own life. And there was probably, I think at his memorial service, to show how many, like how loved he was, there was, I want to say there's probably close to 2,000 people that showed up from all over. And we found out later.
He wasn't showing me any of the talent or the lightness. He was coming through.
He had battled depression for years. And
when people have kind of terminated early, sometimes they do come in with that piece of, hey, this wasn't you, or I'm sorry. And they can come in with some of that residual like guilt happening.
Yeah, no. All right. Everybody full speed ahead. Like with my reactions, you guys were not able to, we could not have scripted that. I'm not anywhere near that talented to just in the middle of a podcast drop an F-bomb.
Wow.
But yeah.
It's okay, Jim.
Wow. Becca wants to throw a name out there. You want to do one more?
Sure.
Well, one more, Becca. Let's hear it. While she's doing that, why don't you tell us one of your scary stories?
Oh my God. So I was never, okay, at this point in my life, it was really an interesting point in my life because my abilities were getting stronger and stronger, and I really wanted to suppress them. have you ever held like a beach ball underwater in the ocean?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was like. And so I was married to someone who would mock me and who just really didn't believe in this stuff. And at the same time, I had all these abilities on and I couldn't turn them off. And so there was one night, I was never into like the whole crime thing. We were in Calgary, Alberta, so I was pretty far removed, which is weird. And it's got a synchronistic feel as to why this person specifically came through. But I was aware one night of waking up mid-sleep, and I was in a bit of a sleep paralysis, which can happen. And so your body locks up, but your mind is active and you're aware of things happening around you. And I felt like I could see the room and I could have this sense of something coming through the door. And all I saw was this really dark mist.
Ooh.
And I'm having like a bit of a moment here because I
Yeah.
notice my body is locked up and I'm trying to touch my spouse with my pinky and I can't move.
Oh my God.
And I'm aware that I can't move, but I can feel somebody coming through. And so immediately I'm having like this Gandalf, you cannot pass moment. I don't want you coming through that door. This is my boundary. You don't get to cross. And so I'm like, who are you? Because first of all, things aren't usually that strong. And I hear this Jeffrey Dahmer. And
Oh.
I had no idea who Jeffrey Dahmer was. I was Canadian. I didn't do the crime thing. I didn't do US stuff. I'm like, okay, good for you. Why are you here? What do you want in the middle of the night? Like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
And I can feel the intensity, and I'm just knowing that this was like an awful, really dark person. And I'm like, gross, like, get out of my house. And I can feel him like there's like an oppressive feeling that can happen, and it was kind of coming through. And so I'm like really trying to wake up my spouse at this point of, hey, I don't want to be alone having this experience. Like, wake yourself up, be here now. And at one point I went to let out a scream and nothing came out. And I was so terrified by that moment that the next day, eventually I did move, I did let out a yell, and I did wake him up, and he turned on the lights and checked the house and all of that kind of stuff. And I eventually, went back to sleep. But the next day it stayed with me, and I'm like, okay, on the odd chance that there is something real here, let me just look it up. We'll see what happens. I didn't like what I found. And
Yeah.
then he had an employee that actually had a video. I was just like floored of, oh my God. So funny thing is, I live in Ohio now. I live in Akron, like close to Akron, and I traveled to Akron, and that's actually where Jeffrey Dahmer was from. So
Whoa.
why he visited, I don't know. But it is, I guess, maybe a validation for me, as though he knew that he'd be coming up. So that was a very scary encounter, for sure.
That's nuts.
Left a mark. Yeah.
So,
That's why I don't want to see stuff.
so
Yeah.
Becca's got, I feel like a cop going like, okay, can you run a name? I'm going to hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Charlie Nancaro.
And if you want to jump on if anybody wants to jump on the live, I know Connie wants to ask about one if you've got time. If you want to come on and chat, you can. We can let you on.
Okay. I see there's a question, so I'd like to tackle that real quick. I see, Amanda, are you able to help those who have crossed to release that residual guilt? Yes, I can. I can, and I do. And also I can guide you to do it as well. So if you don't want to just trust that I'm doing it, I can get you to the place that you can.
Oh yeah, definitely,
Okay.
Danielle. Get in touch with her.
Yeah.
So I'll show you the name again. Charlie Nancaro or Nancaro.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you got?
So I do feel someone. I don't see him, but I do feel an energy, and I do feel them as being older male. I keep getting a sense of glasses, but you know how they're like the round frames, like the really round, like, oh my God, they're like 90s glasses. Like, like they're just some items of clothing that are from a specific date and time. Like, he's got those kinds of frames. And my sense about this person is this is someone who loved literature. This is someone who loved to read and potentially also to write. And it almost feels like a professor to me. Like that's the feeling that I have. Let me know if you're able to recognize that yes, no percentage, because it's helpful. Do you have any questions
typing
for Carly? Yeah.
So that I've noticed that tonight I've been watching the live just on mute on my other screen. So there can be a couple second delay kind of depending on internet connection and things like that.
And so keep in mind what I'm essentially doing is dropping myself into theta, coming back up, dropping myself into theta. Yeah. Now that I know the science of it, it's kind of wild. So that image that I had shared earlier in the chat was funny to me because essentially what I found is I started wearing a Whoop tracker.
Oh, yeah.
And I never had this before. So I actually led hypnosis in the Salt Cave doing one of my group events. And what I found was the Whoop thought I had taken a nap. I actually got
wow.
62 some odd minutes of rest and like 13 minutes of REM. And I was awake the whole time because I was leading hypnosis. But it goes to show you that when you're leading your clients, you are dropping down into theta with them, and you know that there's that connection between the client and the hypnotist at that moment.
Is that the screenshot that you sent?
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of data.
Okay, let's see if we can do this here.
Well,
but I find it exciting because it shows that there is something happening in the brain. This isn't just out of nowhere. You know, it's not somebody making it up. There is a physical change happening in the brainwaves.
Yeah. So Becca says, older male, you were, yes to that.
I don't think anything.
And I'm going to say, it sounds like it could be a maybe that she doesn't know anything either way, but, about the classes or a writer.
And this was someone who loved to read, but they have like a professor, teacher kind of energy about them.
And
then I can ask. So actually, I feel unwell, illness. I feel a little bit of nausea. And just like digestive upsets. So I would say illness.
So something like that.
It didn't feel fast. I'm sorry. It felt like it took some time. Like there was definitely either a hospital or hospice type stay. So I'm feeling like terminal illness with this. And so when you're working with a medium, though, it's nice to try to, not all mediums will be able to just go off the name. That's something that I've worked hard at being able to do. Your person that you see might have other abilities. Just try to find out where their abilities lie so they can play to their strengths. And also try to check with someone that you can validate things. Like if you're going to have a first-time experience with a medium, you want to have a bit of history so that you can say, yeah, I do know this, I do know that. Try to bring a loved one in spirit that is someone that you knew well enough as you're like testing out how you feel about things.
So Connie was asking about, hold on.
I see
Becca says, I think you were onto something. I'm going to translate that from British to English. And then Connie was asking about, I'm assuming a gentleman named Everett Brown.
So one process that I do also teach my students is always finish with the spirit that you've got.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like super rude. You like
no.
And then you're like, okay, well, done with you, dude. So let me, Yeah, he died from cancer of the esophagus and digestive issues. And that's, if I had
Oh
to
my
imagine
God.
what that felt like, that was what I was
Whoa.
feeling. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, let's let Charlie go have an antacid and get him some rest.
Okay. And the other one was Everett.
Everett Brown.
Okay. I like his energy. I can actually feel him behind me. Very easygoing, relaxed, not a big talker. He's not someone who would have talked your ear off unless he was particularly excited. He's got a very calm, grounded, very neutral type energy that it feels like. I'll ask you to confirm this or let me know if you can recognize that first half. But I feel like there were moments when people were speaking to him and he looked aloof, like he wasn't paying attention. And so sometimes you would, stop and say, hey, did you get that? He never missed a beat. He always heard everything. He took in everything. He could always hear and feel and be in touch with it. So he absolutely heard. He was just very much in his head with what he was experiencing. So very calm, chill. I don't want to say thinker, but I feel like maybe more introspective is kind of the appropriate word for Everett.
Connie's saying yes. It sounds like
Whoa.
At least you're onto something.
What are the lottery numbers? Hey, here's the screenshot.
Yeah, no, I don't do predictions. That would be a psychic.
Damn it. Where do we get a psychic? So here's the, I don't know if it shows up very good for folks at home. Can everybody see that? That's a screenshot that Amanda was talking about.
So the cool part about that is this nap reduced your need for sleep by 62 minutes. I was literally leading a group hypnosis in the Salt Cave.
Wow.
I have people who can attest to where I was at 7:34 p.m. on that day. I was wide awake. I had a single client that day, and she had a wonderful deep session.
Wow.
So that's just the fascinating thing is even when you're facilitating this work, the benefits of it. But then there was that portion of REM. Now the kicker for me is down at the bottom, how it says there are no waking events. I can't even achieve that when I sleep because I have pets and they will wake me up every couple of hours. But in the Salt Cave facilitating hypnosis, 0 waking events apparently while I'm there walking and talking and doing what I need to do.
So
wow.
For anybody who's just listening to this, the audio version, Connie says, yes, accurate, very, very accurate.
Accurate AF.
Oh, come on, Brian. I was going to say that's not the word she was using.
It's a vulnerable thing to do, which is why I don't do as many readings. Because, as a medium, when you work on the evidential side and you just put yourself out there, it's pretty raw. It's pretty vulnerable. I'm at a place where I'm good with it, so I can facilitate it. But I'm also at the point where I'm so excited that I can help you do this, that it's like, why do you want me to be the middleman when you can have the full thing? Have your conversations, have your healing. Yeah.
Do you have, so is this something somebody comes to you to train one-on-one, or do you have group classes? How do you do that?
Absolutely. So primarily I do one-on-one training. Yeah. I have had groups in the past. Not so much with hypnosis, because what I like to do is I like to specialize it down. So it depends on what they're coming for. If they just want that connection, that validation, that's a one-time session most of the time. If they're coming to open their abilities, I say usually 3 sessions. The first one, I kind of boot up the software. We put some parameters in place and I hand you the remote control so you know how to work it. And then I get you to go out in the world and test it.
Wow.
You don't just get to sit idly by. And so then you'll come back to me with, hey, practiced, this is what happened. I noticed I couldn't boot up my clairvoyance. What's up with that? So I had one client named Kay. And so her second session was, okay, let's find out what's blocking that. And essentially what it was a belief of she had a memory come up from childhood where she knew she was different and she didn't want to be alienated from the other kids in school. So she put a blindfold over her third eye. So we dropped the blindfold. Now she's an excellent reader. She's out there changing lives with her mediumship, and I love that. And then the third session, I essentially ask you to find someone to read for, and I will supervise and give you some feedback on how to further critique and how to further expand as a medium.
All right, so we're gonna blow Jim's mind. Terry says my dad died of esophageal cancer, and she said that you were saying something like that about Charlie, and she goes, maybe he died of that too, but I wonder if that was my dad coming in early.
So
we did drop the name in between.
There is a phenomena that can happen that is called split link. And so you can encounter more than one spirit at a time. And that's why when you see a medium, doing a live or something, there are multiple people resonating with that message because sometimes the energies can blend and it gets a little challenging to kind of shift gears.
Wow.
And that's how the cops found Jim curled up in the fetal position, sucking on his thumb.
No, it'll be all right.
So, hey, if you're listening at home, can you, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast or you're not watching the video, Amanda, what is the name of your website?
Is healingbeyondtrauma.com.
What a great name, healingbeyondtrauma.com. And your email address?
Is amanda@healingbeyondtrauma.com as well.
So, I'm so glad you have that. It looks, if guys out there, if you're a professional hypnotist and you have something like bigdaddy24@gmail.com, please, for God's sakes, change it. Okay. Get your own domain name, email address, please. Or at least get something sounding more professional. So, hey, I'm sorry. We got a couple more requests for names, but we were already running late. Hit Amanda up. She's also on Facebook. And you can also email her. And Shawn's going to drop her email address down there below again and her website. Gosh, thanks so much, everybody, for watching tonight. Wow, what a big success. Amanda, you kind of blew my mind. And you really did, because I was like, I don't know. I got to say, though, one of the things that I told you and Linda Thurnberg, is that how you say it? Thurnberg, was that one of the things I like about these two, because Linda's into this kind of woo-woo stuff too, is they also are like just normal people. Like you see Amanda just seems like a normal person. She's not, I don't want to say stuff, but there's some folks out there that present in a different way than this, and they just seem normal, and yet they're doing like this crazy, mind-blowing stuff. So, wow.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had so much fun.
Me too. Where can people? I know you've got like a Facebook group too, or something, don't you? Or
I do actually have a group for developing mediums. The link is kind of escaping me at the moment, but you can definitely find it in my link tree.
Oh, good.
And if you go to Linktree, then it's Healing Beyond Trauma. You'll find it there. And there's some resources there too.
Cool. So go to the link tree, healing.
And I just dropped it in my comment on the Facebook Live.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Everybody, thanks again for watching. Please share this episode. Blow their minds. I swear to you, I do not believe that Brian had talked to Amanda before this.
No, we've never met.
No, that was, like I said, that you mid-sentence, I reacted, and like you could probably hear it in my voice that
you got choked up.
Emotion. Yeah. And that doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
So
I want to remind you too, if you want to learn hypnosis, Hypnosis 101 starting up soon. Go to hypnoticsuccessacademy.com. You'll find it there, as along with some other cool stuff. You can also get the app, all the other stuff. Brian, Shawn, Amanda, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to go have a scotch.
Amanda, it was a pleasure as always. Guys, thanks so much for watching. We really do appreciate your time. Again, please like, subscribe, comment, share, do all the things that you do. Take care. Be well.